Seriously. This way. This way, this way. Hey. That'd take a while. And this is how you come down. Yep, I'm back, and yep, I'm still alive. And so is Sarah, thank God. She were at the hospital basically all day yesterday. I didn't leave the building. I mean, wouldn't you want to know somebody that's your backup was in the building the whole time? Yourself, right? So I just brought my laptop and and hung out in the cafeteria, worked on my book the whole time, and then gingerly got her back home. Not much sleep last night, poor thing. It's tough when she contracts any of her muscles down here in her stomach. It's sheer frickin' pain. That's kind of weird how they just cut you open, sew you up, and send you out the door, right? Like a factory, but better than nothing, I guess. So, yeah, I basically have to get her to not use her muscles. I'm trying to get her out of the bed so she go pee again every frickin' 20 minutes, it seems, all through the night. Absolute pain. Come on, play dead. We're playing the I'm dead game. You're asleep. You're faking being asleep. Don't move. Because it's so hard to get her to not use her muscles. Pretty rough. And then to top it off, it's her birthday today. Sarah's birthday today to top it off. Anyway. We got her, all the morning chores are done. The fire's crackling. She's set up on her couch. All comfy. So now I'm going to have my coffee with all of you this morning here and see what's going on. A whole pile of people are freaking out about a Dr. Peter McCullough or something. Nothing new to me. Nothing new to me, but if anything, and if you are a true concerned digger of truth, it's probably time to look up Dr. Peter McCullough, but you probably already know anyway. So, what else is new? I could probably share a lot. Maybe I should save it for the end, or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I got a lot of emails. But I have lined up. I had a meeting with an immigration lawyer, believe it or not. Oh my God, Steve, why are you doing that? I'm not saying that I'm leaving the country. But what I am saying is I think ahead and I plan ahead and I watch everything around my entire environment. It's just second nature. I can't help myself, but I plan ahead. And for what's going on here, and I'd imagine a lot of you know my flavor personality by now. I do not like to be told or controlled in any way whatsoever. So I plan ahead. I'm just planning ahead. I'm not the type to just sit here with my tongue hanging out my mouth like a window licker, drooling, looking at a TV screen, seeing what's going on. What are they going to feed me next? What am I going to have to do next or not do next? It's not me. I'm watching the shit show go on. I'm watching the criminals, and I'm trying to see who is winning or losing. And a lot of people might think, well, what, you're just going to leave? You're just going to desert your country? Why don't you stay and make it better? You've always said for people to stay and make it better. What more can I do? What more can I do? I try to share as much truth here as I can, and when I share absolute important truth as well of what's going on with all of us, well, the majority of the people whine and snivel and cry because they don't want to hear about politics, they call it. They're knee-jerk and conditioned into saying, I don't want to hear about politics. What are you, stupid? The people that say that are the same people that cleaned the shelves off of toilet paper when Armageddon was coming. But that's the sad reality. So what's a person with my character to do, right? You want an army. You want an army. But the sad reality is every time you turn around and try to encourage people and share some very alarming truths that are going on that are affecting all of your lives, well, the majority of the herd doesn't want to hear about it. And as well, but you got to take into account and accept the fact that the majority of the herd, and this is an easy, honest example, cleaned off the shelves of toilet paper when Armageddon was coming. Who does that leave me to rally up, right? So what can I do? All I can do is try to share truth nonstop, which I do, right? I mean, I don't know what other YouTube channels, what other people, is there anybody that puts out more content alone, single shot, one-man team than me? Is there? I wonder if there is. Every single day I drill it out to the world, no matter what. Because I can do that by myself. I don't need to rally an army of people to do that. But anyways, I'm rambling, I'm babbling. How it's set up here in this country, there's a lot of bad things going on here. Maybe I can rattle them off at the end of the video. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer every day. I'm trying not to be. I mean, I'm normally a pretty positive, happy-go-lucky guy, and I crack funnies all day long. But it comes to the audience and talking about what's important, right? I want to talk about what's important. And it's frustrating to see how many people don't want to talk about what's important. They don't want to acknowledge it, and they're just falling in line. It's a very frustrating thing to watch and witness, right? So I'm planning ahead. See what options I may have to attain absolute frickin' freedom, as close as I can get to it. So that's what I'm doing. Found a very intelligent immigration officer from a different country, and I'm going to see what possible options there would be if I were inclined to go that route, and see if I should maybe possibly get that ball rolling, just in case I need it for everyone here to be free, right? Anyway, you can put down in the comment section below how you feel about me speaking truth, and why, maybe possibly, if you don't want to hear truth, why not? Why not? Why don't you want to hear other truths, right? So getting back to the predominant topic here that this channel covers, I should almost start another channel for different topics maybe, huh? Now, this is titled Groucho Continued. Where we lived was very mountainous. I think this is from the other day. I read the first one, right? Where we lived was very mountainous. It was right up against a mountain range. When we walked out of the front door, you were on a hill. And in one direction, it would take you to the top of the hills, and the other direction would take you down towards the river. Where me and my family lived was within a valley that had been carved out by glaciers thousands of years before. The valley was about a mile across, further upstream, about 2 miles across, at the bottom where it opened out. They lived in the bottom of the valley next to the river. The only place that was flat, where we could play as children, was the floodplain next to the river. Everywhere else was inclined. We played as long as we could, but when it went dark, a figure would appear on the bank of the river, and this happened many times. I think it was small, probably about the same size as the smallest of our group, which would be about 4 feet. This was a place that was cut off from civilization, and there were families within that valley that were extremely impoverished. The kind of poverty that meant you are passing the shoes from one sibling to the other so you could go to school. They were always unwashed and knotted hair and barefoot. The figure on the riverbank at the time seemed to fit in with these children. At least I think it was a child. The reality, with the benefit of hindsight, is that small figure was a young Sasquatch. What I am describing is not a brief encounter. This took place over many years. I watched the figure grow up from its small stature of 4 feet to around 6 feet. But we were not given access to this young one easily. Its mother tried to deter us from playing in that area through various means, including throwing stones and bluff charges. This came to a head one evening. As I was the last one off the field, I literally ran into the mother. After this, she backed off and seemed to allow us access to the area and also her young. The young one also tried to deter us, but she must also have been curious about us. She was quite violent towards us. On more than one occasion, the violence was the kind that you see when a tourist walks past a monkey and the monkey decides it's taking the handbag. The tourist is taken by surprise, but fights to keep hold of the handbag. But the superior strength and speed means they almost always win. But the beatings were few and far between, thankfully. I don't know where she learned those moves, but she was very good at getting the better of you. In the dark, you could hear her hands, and you could barely see her even up close. You couldn't defend yourself against something you can't see. I tried to deflect her blows with my arms, but there was rarely any contact. She could obviously see my painfully slow, light-colored arms flailing around in front of me, trying to create a defense. The past stings were not too bad, but some of the injuries were hard to explain in the daylight. We could have ganged up on her, I suppose. The only problem with that is the others very rarely saw her. I know this is true because when we played football, I once kicked the ball over to where she was stood, hoping that she would kick it back, and she didn't. She dropped down and then dropped over the riverbank out of view, and I was left trying to explain why I'd kicked the ball over to the river. My response was that there's somebody there waiting to play, and their response was, no, there isn't. And that was how it was for years. With the benefit of hindsight, I realize now that she was watching our eyes, and she could see when someone had spotted her, and that was what she didn't like. Is it shyness or something else? Good question. I think it's something else. To get back to the point I'm trying to make in the present, I have noticed I have excellent night vision, better than anyone I know. There have been so many instances in low-level light conditions when I have been with company, and they are in disbelief that they can't see what I can see. So now I realize what is happening when I was younger. She was waiting until the light levels reached a certain level, and at the same time watching our eyes to see if she was spotted. If nobody looked at her, she knew she was safe to join in on our games. I know you probably find that unbelievable. Another reason I know she was playing with us is because frequently, when I arrived home, either my hand or part of me stunk. A smell so wretched it smells as if somebody hadn't washed for 10 years. Washing it off was difficult. A few times my mother would make me strip off my clothes and throw them in the washer. She'd ask me where I'd been to smell so badly. I know I'm not wrong about this because there were sightings in the daylight which were hard to compare to the nighttime sightings at the time, but now I know it had to be the same creature. Thanks, Steve. There you go. There's one hell of an email. There's one hell of a bunch of frickin' experiences, some patterns in there, and some mysteries, right? Same old mysteries. How, and why. Energy, different vibrations. The mysteries, right? The mysteries and the hidden truths. Truths that we deserve to frickin' know, amongst many others. Appreciate you sending that in. And you can send in anything else you have anytime, all right? Send it on in. Keep it flowing. Keep it flowing. So quick side note. Anybody watch that? No, I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's keep going. Let's hear more people. It's titled Wixom Lake, Michigan. Bracket RAP end bracket. So it's Wixom Lake, Michigan. Hey Steve, thanks for sharing the St. Helens story. I'll save the world views, but just know we're on the same page, buddy. Good to know, my man. I'm sure there's a whole pile of us here that are. My other encounter took place behind what was once Wixom, right? Yeah, Wixom Lake, Wixom Lake. It's empty now after a series of tragic dam failures. Behind the spillway, there is a beautiful piece of land. A shallow river cut very high banks. It was a fun place to explore and ride mountain bikes as a kid. My friends and I spent a lot of time back there. Fast forward into my late 20s. A friend and I decided to walk down the 2-track and climb the hill to sit by the dam that overlooked the lake one evening. It isn't a terribly long journey, but a good distance for a walk. We get there without issue and headed back to the car after a while. And this is when things got sketchy. We were over halfway back when I heard tracks not far up the trail. It's pitch black, and I didn't bring it up as to not freak out my little female friend. Probably a grinner. Bracket, a possum, I told myself. That thought didn't last. Maybe it's an echo, I thought to myself. I stopped, it stopped. Walking a little more and it did the same thing. I probably did that 4 times. Adrenaline building each time. I had enough. I pulled out the .45, racked one, and explained that I had a gun and the game was over. Well, the game wasn't over. These footsteps kept pace about 20 feet to our left. I didn't get the soul-crushing fear like I had experienced once before, but I was ready to be out. I was ready to be out of there. It followed us out to the edge of the woods, never making a noise besides the footsteps. I was beyond relieved to get in the car. I don't know what it was. the walking was bipedal. If it was a person, then they're either insane or completely stupid. The sound of my gun was clearly audible. It was predatory / mimicking behavior. I made sure not to run. I do know one thing. On top of carrying a gun, I keep a light on me now as well. Thanks again, John. Okay, man. I don't envy that experience. These footsteps kept pace about 20 feet to our left. That is right there, right? How do they do that? How does that monkey gorilla do that while eating bananas? Ask no one. Appreciate you sending that in, John. Absolutely appreciate you sending that in, man. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Who's next? Man, it is pouring rain out there. What do we got here? This is titled Olympia, Washington State Capitol. Steve and Sarah, good morning. Hope all went well with the surgeries. I did thank you for the kind words. Interesting find yesterday at our state capitol. I've attached a photo of the paper on display. To say the least, it grabbed my attention. I'll continue to dig into the backstory and keep you posted. God bless and stay strapped. It's about to get rough. Your friend Robert Graham. Okay, Robert, got you, man. Where was that? Did I save it? Come on, where? All right, there we go. There you go. Check it out. What does that do for me personally? Not much. Not much. It's definitely interesting, but it doesn't seem to, like I said, the majority of the population stands there with their tongue hanging out. So, it's like the topic I was going to bring up a little later on. I appreciate you sending that in too, man, and dig deep. If you got anything else, I am interested in hearing about it, for sure, just so you know. But the hair thing, the acknowledging thing, there you go. There's an official government document with a clump of hair, a signature. What's everybody doing? Huh. It's not changing anything much, is it? Right? Why is that? Why is it? Why is it that all this honest truth from people to the face of so many people doesn't really do much? It does lots for me, though. And it does lots for other people here, too. So keep it flowing. But in the reality of the hair, just the hair thing alone. What was it? The one group of scientists claims to have had, so far to date, around 3,500 DNA samples. 3,500. Melba and the gang had 114 various samples and currently has Dogman samples. What's that doing to change up society? Not too much yet, right? But it's there. It's there for the people who are interested, and they know what it is and they know what it isn't. But what I'm saying is the hair thing, it's been done hundreds of times now. Hundreds. But it doesn't seem to be doing much mainstream. Why is that? Why is that? Right? Why is that? Who's next? All right, what's this one? This is titled, excuse me. Man, it is pouring rain. Pissing. This is titled, I'm a runner. Wild man is a track star. What's up, Steve? I've watched your channel for a while and I've learned a lot. I respect what you're doing, most of all because you don't make a mockery out of it. Like the goofballs on TV. Those fame-hungry dudes who manipulate the narrative can suck a dick, just not mine. My name is Remy Stevens. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is close to the border of Indiana. My parents and little brother have lived in southeast Indiana for quite some time in an area called Delaware. My story takes place in 2008, and I was 23 years old. At this time, I would often travel out there to hang out with my brother from time to time. So one night, he invited me to a country bonfire party. I met him at our parents, parked my car, and rode with him the 3 to 4 miles to the party. We're having a good old time, hooting and hollering and just letting loose, when my brother decided to leave because his girlfriend was blowing up his phone, and he was pussy whipped. I wasn't ready to leave as I was still hurtling the campfire and slap boxing with some of the other guys. About another hour goes by and most of the people I knew had left, leaving me with the super drunks. Oh joy. The stay all-nighters and only a couple of girls, so I decided to make my walk back to my parents and my car. This is a rural area, not fully forested, but lots of cornfields and bean fields along country roads. It's about 2 in the morning, super dark, although the moon is out and I'm just walking along this country road, not really paying attention to much. There is a cornfield on both sides of the road, but the corn had already been harvested, so it's just big empty fields. I'm about a mile into my walk, glancing down to my feet to make sure I'm still on level ground. When I look up, and to my left, there it was. Instant eye contact. 30 feet away, it's standing on the edge of the field, just on the other side of the ditch. I look up, we make eye contact. We stare at each other for about 10 seconds, and then we both take off running. I run down the road like my life depended on it, and he ran into the field. I ran for about 50 feet when I glanced behind to see where he was, and he had already covered a football field in distance, going into the cornfield towards a small forest. I didn't stop. I ran until I couldn't. This guy was at least 9 feet tall and jet black and super wide. Hella muscle. His eyes were white. Not all white, but the whites of his eyes were super white. He had the face of a man. Skin was dark and weathered like an old beach bum who drinks all day. And I can't lie, I was scared. I was scared because I knew nothing about these people then. I never heard of them. Never saw a show, nothing. It changed my life forever, but in a good way. It sent me on a path of truth-seeking and universal knowledge. If I get to see one again, I will not run, but instead try to talk to them and learn something. I know they know a lot. I understand it may be naive, but my thirst for knowledge knows no bounds. Thanks for letting me share my story. Truth don't care about feelings. Remy Stevens. That's a good quote. Truth don't care about feelings. There you go. That's almost, I should have that on my chest when I'm reading every day, right? Truth don't have no feelings. One of the best sentences I've read this week, this month. So true. What experience, man? Huh? What experience? Getting inducted into the club of no return. Instant. Didn't ask for it. Now you're a lifelong member. No way escaping. Right? So, I know the route you're taking. Believe me, I've been on that route for most of my life. It leads to some frustrating times, right? It leads to some frustrating times. Email me back. You got something, you learned some good shit along your ride, man? Email me back. I want to hear about it. And if you have anything you want to share with the people through me from your ride, I'm all over it. Like a fat kid on a Smartie. All right, here we go. Dear Steve, my name is Ryan Campbell. Please don't use my name. LOL. I'm just kidding. I never understood why people give their name in the beginning, then at the end say, please don't use my name. Yeah, me too. Okay, so, Presqual. Presqual. Passage in Erie, Pennsylvania. I know I probably pronounced it wrong, but admittedly, I'm not the best word slinger on the planet. But I'll school most of those scientists' asses in the real world, won't I? So Presqual Passage in Erie, Pennsylvania. So this quaint little campground was really cool. They have rentable campers and also have tent space. This ordeal, I want to say, happened about 8 years ago. Me, my sister and brother-in-law and their son went there to do some camping and fishing. The first night they met me and my nephew, took the tent and left my sister. No punctuation. Pre-warned. So I got to make up my own as we go. First night, me and my nephew took the tent and let my sister and brother-in-law have the little mobile camper. This is a long story. This long story short, I want to say around 23 or possibly 4 a.m. You must have meant 2:30 or possibly 4 a.m. You can hear shit breaking loud in the distance. And I'd say within a few minutes, these things were surrounding the tent space, which I think you can fit a good 10 tents in there. You can fit a good 10 tents with their own fire pits at the time. I'd say there was about 6 other tents beside me and my nephew. But these things started mimicking. The best I could describe would be wild boars, but from all sides. My nephew jumped up and said, "Uncle, why do you hear that? Uncle," sorry, there's a typo, and said, "Uncle, what do you hear? What do you hear that? What is going on out there?" I honestly was shook. But the old uncle tried to play it off. I said it's a bunch of wild boars having sex, trying to joke around with them. Just then it sounded like a tree the width of a telephone pole smacked another tree. This then made me and him jump up and go bang on the camper. The very next day, oddly, all 6 or 7 other people with tents all packed up and rolled out. Not sure if anyone's ever heard them mimic wild pigs, especially as high up as Erie, Pennsylvania. Thanks, Steve, for everything you do. If anyone has some shit to say about our roundtable of knowledge, you can send them to soup. P.S. Sorry, I may have used 2 exclamation points. Hope you can interpret this. If not, I can retry. All right, man. Gotcha. I'll save your last comment for the quote Bible thumper. We got all sorts of different flavors of people here. Mimicking wild boar. Yeah, instant flash. That reminded me that the description was when Albert Ostman, the man who was abducted in British Columbia and was investigated from one end to the other by various interviews, etc., lie detector tests, passed them all. The man who was grabbed up in his sack like a Santa bag and thrown over the shoulder of that beast of a human-type being. It packed into the mountains not too far from where I've taken you guys numerous times, and I lived in Pemberton, British Columbia, to Manitoba Inlet. And then, but he described the being when it ate his tobacco and his coffee grounds, and he said that his eyeballs rolled back and his head put his head between his knees, started rolling around, squealing like a pig. I don't know why. That memory just came back, shot to my head as soon as he said it sounded like wild boar. I guess my brain's just saying, well, there's one time they were described as sounding like a pig. I believe they can mimic any sound. And the sound of a telephone pole hitting a tree size, that's a good description of what I heard when I was told to quit looking. Appreciate you sending that in, man. Now listen to this. This is titled Update on Story. Hey Steve, quick response to your reading of my story. I didn't add details that might have helped because I didn't want to make it too long. My children looked at the Sasquatch in the window. It was a basement window that is a bit higher from the floor. The Sasquatch was bent over to look in the window. When it stood up, they told me it looked like it was as tall as me. Oh, I grilled them thoroughly. Next to what appeared to be an adult Bigfoot, and it was clearly smaller. As for the recorded crying, okay, now I know who we're talking to. As for the recorded crying, our neighbor has the recording, and we are reaching out to him to see if he still has it. I probably should have left it out of the story since I didn't have it to attach. Now, no, don't leave anything out, and do not fall for being in that position of thinking you're going to be judged by any other human being. Don't be scared. That's okay. Always say everything. We listened to it, but didn't ask him to send it to us, and should have, in hindsight. We were just so Sasquatched out. And it was just another interesting tidbit. My daughter is the person who told us about what one of the tribes claimed about the Sasquatch getting sick and even dying. Oh yeah, can we read that one more time? My daughter is the person who told us about what one of the tribes claimed about the Sasquatch getting sick and even dying. She spends time with members in her fishing and hunting adventures and through her taxidermy studio. A couple of the tribes here say they have communications with Sasquatch, and I'll pursue that a bit more and try to get first-hand statements rather than second-hand. Best, I can't remember if you said to share your name or not. You know what? Since it's ongoing and such a common thing around your place, I'll leave your name out, just in case. P.S. Somehow, the word got out about our area, and a certain Bigfoot hunter wanted to come in and set up shop. Hub said, no way was anyone going to come in and tramp through our woods. By this time, we pretty much knew that their methods were not going to yield anything. The Sasquatch just seemed to know what's going on and can't be played for fools. Good for you. Good for you. I love hearing that. I love hearing that, especially when it comes to that group of dark sons of bitches. Not all of them. Not all of them, I know. I'll bite my lip. I'll bite my lip. Hold on. Hold on a minute. How long is this? Ooh, it's a long one. Okay, I'm going to go in. Meaning, I'm going to dive in. And I forgot about Adventure Dog out in the shop. I got to go get her. Hold on a sec. Alright. This is titled My Puzzle to Date from the Round Table of Knowledge. Hey Stephen, use my name, Robbie Martin. I'm from Kelowna. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but pieces to my puzzle keep coming and falling into place. I've been with you from the beginning and want to sum this up, not just for me, but for the listeners and writers to the Round Table family. Without you, none of this would be possible. Last month, you read a few of my experiences from Harrison Lake and Half Moon Bay, and thank you. What you are doing here is unique and amazing. Keep it up. It's helping so many people get back to doing what they love and back into the real world. I salute you. Okay, so I'm not sure where to start. When I first started this quest for truth and knowledge, I never thought it would lead to where we are now. From seeing a Bigfoot on a $6 million man to the Patterson-Gimlin film, the Book of Mysterious Creatures, to smatterings of shows. There really wasn't much until YouTube and this channel. I decided to see what I could find on YouTube and sit through what I thought was fake and what was real. Watching and listening to these crazy stories about interactions with these beings, from ones disappearing in front of their eyes, coins and marbles from all over the world being gifted, sometimes manifesting from thin air, to pictures randomly showing up on cameras at 3 in the morning, partial hairy selfies in a resolution that the camera doesn't even take. These baffling events just lead to more questions, not answers. Combining through the countless testimonies, pictures, videos, and email stories on this channel, and thousands of the exact same accounts from people all over the world, you'd have to be a moron not to believe they're true. First, wrapping your head around the fact that these people are multidimensional is one thing. The other is that they are human. Not any animal or ape, but human. They live in nuclear families just like us and have a social structure with morality kind of like us. They live in clans and are self-governed by what's called a Council of 13. There's apparently a strict law against harming humans, punishable by death. Being human, there is bad ones, and from what I understand, a lot of the interactions stem from these beings scaring us and steering us away from danger. Many of the interactions between humans are the young ones being curious and testing to see what they can get away with and what they can't. The rock throwing, camp destruction, tents poking can be part of their curious nature to see how we live. Peering in windows, Slapping the walls of cabins and homes, horrendous screaming and the growling, all seem to be in some ways a form of entertainment for these people, even the older ones. We are their television. Although all these behaviors seem to be contradictory to what hunters have been seeing in the woods, like you said, Steve, they seem to all of a sudden look at us like they are there for the first time. Very strange. If they are coming through portals and not knowing exactly where they are, that makes sense. If these beings can in fact look at us and see our auric field, then we would light up like Christmas tree, sending us extreme emotions through what has been coined as infrasound, like fear and impending doom. I believe that that is some entertainment for them, just trying to figure out who we are. One of the first indications that these beings had strong sixth sense was when hunters would look at them through the crosshairs of a scope, and as they laid eyes on them, they would turn its head and look right at them, through the scope into their eyes. The eyes being a gateway to the soul, maybe. The reason why the elders say we're not supposed to look right at them. It makes them uncomfortable. If they can look through us and see what we were all about, maybe we can do the same, which we cannot. Not yet. My girlfriend Kyla works with the kids on the autism spectrum. Some behaviors include swaying. It seems to be auto-stabilization as a form of self-soothing. Many people have reported these beings swaying when having more peaceful encounters. You would know more than most people that traversing over an almost sheer high alpine fresh snow-covered mountain is difficult to say the least. A video showed one of these beings crossing what was reported to be up to 90 inches of fresh fallen snow. It seemed like it was floating on top, only making a track once in about 50 yards, with a mind-boggling speed. Like, what else can these things do? When it comes to watching their gait or their walk, there is a lot of witnesses saying that they so-called glide like a cross-country skier, seeing a terrifying ability in speed and agility. The fact they make no noise going through the bushes and up straight cliffs is mind-boggling. Then on the other hand, sounding like a dump truck going through a nitroglycerin plant when they're screaming through the timber. These beings seem to like knocking over large green trees and just narrowly missing us and our camps and vehicles. Simply paralleling us as we walk in and out of the woods is something that if you didn't know these behaviors, you wouldn't know what it was. Learning of all these behaviors is what made me discover that I had actually, in fact, had interactions with these beings and I didn't know. So many encounters can be contributed to these beings by learning about their behaviors. Hikers and hunters seeing their footprints in the snow just disappearing is perplexing. When learning of their multi-dimensionality and ability to pass through portals seamlessly by opening and closing them makes this craziness make sense. People running from these beings and crossing the river quickly, then finding them on the other side is baffling. Apparently they can open up a portal on one side and open another one on the other side, then flip seamlessly through these things. What an ability. So how the hell do these things have this ability? If they're humans, why don't we? Now when looking at their DNA, we've been told that it's human mitochondrion, mother and father unknown. One of your viewers sent in a breakdown of the DNA saying that they had Dino-Sylvian DNA, which comes from Tibetan race that has abilities to withstand altitude. I've heard things like on the father's side from bear to domestic dog, 2-3% gibbon monkey, or an ancient large lemur. Coincidentally, there have been a few videos online that have shown these beings hopping or lunging exactly like a lemur, one coming down from the mountain and one traversing forest, hopping over a log. To explain some of the paranormal abilities, one said that there was 1% zeta reticulum, nuclear DNA. Now, when researching those beings or gray aliens, they come from an insectoid race. There is an insect on this planet that has been witnessed to being able to lower their vibration enough to become invisible. Thanks to the work from our beloved Dr. Melba Ketchum, DNA is becoming clearer. Can't wait to learn more from her in the future. If these things are in fact a genetically manipulated human hybrid, just like we are, that they are most likely a slave race, just like we are. Tweaking their pituitary gland to give them their musculature will be an asset as a labor-controlled slave race. Being able to be on all fours, have hair so they don't need to be clothed, be barefoot so they don't need to be shoed, all tick off the box when it comes to digging tunnels and labor-related work. Looking into things like their anatomy, having a chest plate of 4 inches of solid bone, and windpipe, and separate esophagus for eating would make sense. One thing we don't have. Some jackass that has a dog training site apparently has a few of these beings frozen from when his dad killed him back in '54. If these things are in fact real, well, we can take a lot from what he's shown. He's shown that they're magnetic. When a tool was put up to their hand, it stuck. There's also a radiation signature in what looked like a couple of rows of teeth and multiple hearts or lungs, I'm not sure. These beings' binocular infrared night vision, from the studies from our trusted scientists, was something that made me think of the military. Why is there two spectrums infrared night vision, being red and green, just like the eyes of these beings? Coincidence? I think not. Not to mention the cloaking predator light bending technology as that they possess, so they can control their inner thermostat. Melba says she touched one's leg and it was like a frozen bark. Them almost at the same time touching his arm and having it being boiling hot. Wow, when do these abilities end? That actually wasn't Melba, that was the scientist in Russia. Do you believe that these beings' knocking sound is something that they make with their mouth, or are they actually hitting a tree? I'm guessing both, because what I heard hit a tree, you could hear the piece of wood going through the low underbrush before it smoked the tree. What I heard. What about their smell? Is that part of a gland, or some other ability that they can float by our noses? Maybe just another defense mechanism. Don't know. It's obviously transmittable because it has been on people and in their tent and stuck to other various things, and the smell is tough to get it to make go away. So, see, all this knowledge I've obtained by listening to the people. All of it came from the people on this channel. I cannot thank you and all the viewers enough for this journey into knowledge. I have witnessed mind speak on one occasion and seeing these orbs shortly after having an encounter. Being able to use the eyes of another animal like owls or ravens in the forest to control their actions and eyesight is something worth looking into. I really want to hear your puzzle pieces and what you've concluded at this point. I can't wait to hear about your experience with them if you end up going down south and meeting them. Be safe, hunter leader, and go with your gut as always. I know you will. I keep watching and listening and learning and feeling my way around, putting together my puzzles, my puzzle to what, and I have no idea. All this time and people developing these patterns is the only way to gather true knowledge. Agreed. If more people were in tune with their inner self and trust their intuition, we would be in a better place. Doing this with humility is a gift beyond all measure. I'm training for my first elk hunt this year, all due to inspiration from you and all the people in the How to Hunt Roundtable Club in our return. I can't thank you all enough. With love and light, Robbie Martin. P.S. Dulce is pronounced Dulce. Of course it is. Right? There's one guarantee here, guaranteed I'll mispronounce a shit pile of names. Well, that's a refreshing email for me. Thank God there's people out there listening and putting it all together for their own puzzle piece, right? And thinking on their own and getting their own wheels turning. That's another big motivation here, is getting people to think for themselves. Listen, politely, take it from what you will, or leave it, right? And keep grinding the wheels between your ears and think. Now, I think that should suffice for the day. For sharing voices, I have to get back in. Make sure my little patient is okay now that I'm going to be a full-time nurse for the next little while. Full-time nurse / door person for animals. Oh my God. Every time you turn around, there's an animal staring at you from one side of the door or the other, wanting to go in and out. It's amazing the power they have without speaking English, right? They just look at you and they make you move. They make you serve their little hairy asses, little bastards. Anyway, what am I doing? So that's the end of the emails being shared for all of you that just might get annoyed for me speaking my mind. Pre-warned. Am I going to rant? I'm not going to rant. I'm going to explain something and explain a few things. Excuse me. This ride, when you, like I said, as soon as I realized on my own, without looking or asking, that something very major and very serious is truly going on around us, which was me becoming aware of these people. That was a huge game changer for me and my brain. I think I described early on in my childhood in school example, I knew it was just a waste of time for me being there. And I had to fight through the guilt of feeling like an absolute loser and being made to feel like I was less from some uninvited family members that came into my life and others. I mean, hell, I was raised to, I wasn't even qualified to be in a family photo when they had them right in the backyard, right? So that's a whole nother story. But I'm just saying, I had to fight through a lot of feeling less, or maybe as a potential failure, because I just wasn't, what shall I say? I will say I wasn't being duped from a very young age. And I knew I was going to be on my own path. And I also knew I was going to be okay. But I tell you what, when you go against the grain, it's a fight, man. You're swimming upstream and by yourself 99.9% of the time. So getting fast forward to where we are today. Now, my potentially looking, well, I am going to have a meeting with a very, very intelligent immigration lawyer from another country because I want to learn. One thing for certain is I want to learn. And I want to look ahead. I want to be able to take care of my ass and the people around me to ensure that we do maintain, try to attain the most free, enjoyable lifetime that we possibly can at these times, which is basically becoming very, very, very hard for the majority of the people. And it's not the way it's supposed to be. I was talking about this with Sarah yesterday. We're talking going, could you imagine if society was set up to make sure that we just had a riot while we were alive? Just an absolute party. And no, that does not mean being drunk and irresponsible. It just means every single thing was geared up for each one of us to just have the best time possible. Equally across the board, maintain absolute health and freedom and happiness. Wouldn't that be amazing if that was what everything was geared up to facilitate, provide for each one of us? But the reality is, that just sounds absurd, doesn't it? Why is that? Anyway, here in Canada, yes, we do have criminals, absolute criminals. This isn't talking politics, so get your head out of your ass if that's your initial reaction to my words. I don't want to hear about politics. You're stupid. Go back to buying frickin' toilet paper off the shelf. Get out of here. So, the reality of our existence today is the majority of society is basically in a slave labor camp. That's all there is to it. There's people... let me back up a bit. One thing that's really motivating me is now that I've taken on feeding hungry people. That's changed. That's been a bit of a change for me. Feeding hungry people in my backyard. All of you feeding hungry children. Okay? And I'm realizing how little amount of money can change so many souls for the better. Okay? Follow me. Now, knowing this is going on, you can tour any major North American, not even major, you can tour many North American cities at this time. And the homelessness is off of the frickin' charts. It's absolutely, it's like a horror movie. But it's a real serious problem. So knowing all this, and you watch where the money goes from the backs of all of society, and it's being stolen. You got one of the main players, Canada's example, goes down for $10,000 a night holiday. I don't understand how you can do that, right? I figure out how to make a couple extra bucks, and I automatically think, how many kids can I feed with this? Right on. Why aren't those people, why don't they have that same attitude? They're sending billions of dollars overseas to help kill people. When meanwhile, the people that money is being taken from are the friends and relatives and the family and the co-workers and the neighbors of all these homeless people and hungry children here. Okay, wait a minute, what? There's children lining up right here in my effing backyard that are hungry. And all this money, a fraction of the money is being stolen from all the people and sent to help kill people, as an example. Can't be used to feed people here? Children? People are in tents in snow? What? Anyway. Moving along. We all know what happened when that very serious, possibly human-manipulated flu struck. There is the evidence is in your face about the genocide. There 110% intentional genocide on society. That went down. We saw what happened with the reaction from the people when they finally started to rise up. The people up here, the criminals up here, flew in United Nations troops to come and beat the living shit out of innocent, harmless Canadians in the streets in the capital, right? They froze the bank accounts of hundreds of people, hundreds of families, bankrupted them, made it so they couldn't feed their children, pay their mortgage, pay their rent, put fuel in their vehicle. That's what they did to people who supported free speech. That's here in this country. You can see where I'm building up with this, right? So meanwhile, I mean, you can go back on all my social media. I was doing everything I could because I do have a fair reach in the world to make sure everybody's aware it was going down and encourage people to frickin' talk and fight back. What else? The environment here is going downhill. Fish, the game is all going downhill. The divide, the intentional using racism as a tool to keep us divided and they hate is everywhere. Using race as a tool against the population. Quality of fish here. Only too many. I'm just going to go down a whole bunch of things that I have concerning for me. Here's an example, like fish. You know, I'll hike a whole river, maybe get lucky and catch one. Maybe even two. Three's a freaking incredible day. When only about 15 years ago, a friend of mine would guide in the same river and they catch 25, 30 of them in a day. And twice as big on average. What else? Salmon. 15 years ago, a lot of people would catch 40-pound salmon, 45-pound salmon, a good handful of 50-pound salmon. Now today, people are excited when they break 20 pounds. What's going on, right? The war on our food, the war on farmers. Now, whoever it is that's in control is hammering on our food source. Huh? The quality, there's no nutritional food being pumped out on average, and if it is, if you can't get your hands on it, it's way too far expensive for your average family. What else? Removing the reproductive organs in children, saying that's okay. It's almost like, it's almost like there is a war on human beings right now. Wouldn't you think? I mean, all the evidence is there. There's more than enough evidence to back up that there is an active war against humanity going on right now. I don't think I'm sounding like an extremist. I'm just reading, I'm using common sense and I'm reading all the indicators. Right? Now, here in Canada, they're trying to work on another new law that will potentially put you in prison for life if you say the wrong thing online. That's going down here in Canada. What else? Just the other day, a friend of mine came over. He's real good friends with the local sporting goods store owner. And he said that if by the end of this month, the Canadian government's now going to make it illegal to have a firearm, a center firearm in semi-automatic, which means you just got to pull the trigger. Bang, 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 instead of working the bolt. They're going to make that illegal by the end of the month. It's the word on the street. For the law-abiding citizens, right? Law-abiding citizen, well, we're going to make sure that you don't have a gun that you can shoot like this, because that's not good. It's not good for them, right? It's not good for them. I mean, if they're worried about criminals, why don't they just make it illegal for criminals to have firearms, right? Well, it can't be. That wouldn't work, would it? Anyways, I'm trying not to babble. I'm trying to list off all the indicators that shit's going sideways. And now across the ocean, got all the warmonger. Venture Dog's having a dream. Hope it's a good one. Now, if you ever looked at the doomsday clock, where all the scientists of the world put this clock together to show us the state of what we are in as a potential end of the world doomsday, nuclear Armageddon. And apparently right now we're the closest we've ever been in history. It's 1 minute to midnight. If you went by their little doomsday clock creation. You got Western leaders in Europe pushing for nuclear exchange. What the fuck's going on, man? You know what I mean? So many people have been intentionally killed this past few years around the globe in our face. It's absolutely freaking mind-boggling. Right? So, how do you stop this when you care? Like, I give a shit. I take note of everything. I'm watching everything. I'm trying to watch my back. I'm trying to watch the backs of the people I care about. I'm trying to make the correct decisions, and I'm trying to look forward, and I'm trying to see up ahead of what may be coming, and I don't want to be taken by surprise, and I don't want to be as vulnerable as the majority of people I'm watching are. I don't like to be vulnerable. I don't want to be controlled. I do not want to be suppressed. I do not want to be held down, and I do not want my quality of life taken from me. But what can you do? You guys tell me. What do you do? I've been a voice. I reached out to a lot of people here. And I try to offer up tidbits of what's going on. Hey, you might want to take a look at what just went down over here. We don't want to hear about politics. We didn't come here to listen to politics. Oh boy. So how do you form an army out of that mindset that's been conditioned and spread around community? How do you form an army? How do you fight back? We're going to go into the legal system and we're going to get votes. You're going to vote them out. No, you're not. Not here anyway. They're too corrupt. The people that are in power in Canada right now, they weren't voted in. That little French piece of shit wasn't voted in. Did a deal with another leader to ensure they remained in control and remained suppressing the people. And they weren't voted in by the people. The people didn't want those people to be in that position. But they did this dirty deal, which they do to enable them to stay in power. What else? There's so many things. I'm not even touching a few drops in the bucket. Just the other day, the opposition leader supplied documents that there was Chinese spies here in Canada and Chinese biolabs. Secret. I'll say a stack of papers this thick showing the collaboration with our criminal government and the Chinese and the biolabs. And they actually had an investigation going on, and the two political parties that are making deals with each other stopped the investigation. So, what do you do? Now what do you do? You know what I mean? They stop investigations. They've stopped investigations, criminal investigations, into themselves numerous times here in this country of capital K Canadistan. So what's a person to do when you try to reach out, you try to motivate people, and the majority of the people don't want to be motivated. They just keep allowing their lives to be pummeled into the ground. What do you do? What do you do? You know what I mean? What do you do? So there you go. If anybody's alarmed by my speaking out loud about having a meeting with an immigration lawyer from another country, there you go. Am I leaving? Am I moving away from here? Not yet. But I'm not going to be taken by surprise, and I'm not going to leave it to be too late if that turns out to be the best decision I should have made. That's what I'm doing. So you all understand that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure that if there is a possibility of having an open door somewhere to escape a shit show, Well, I'm going to make sure I know about it. I'm going to make sure that I know exactly what to do and when to do it, if I need to do it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. In the meantime, if thousands of people want to form an army of the good guys, I'm all over that one. I would absolutely prefer to go that route as opposed to leaving all over like a fat kid on a Smartie. Just so you know. There you go. There's my little tidbit today. Now, is that a big negative? I'm trying not to be negative. I'm just reading. I am reading the plain writing. I'm just reading it. That's all I'm doing is reading facts this morning. Everything I just said is just reading facts. It's not being miserable. It's not looking for something to bitch about. I don't do that shit, man. I always encourage everybody to do what you have to. You have to do what you love to do. Right? That feeds the soul, that motivates you to do the right thing in life as well. And it keeps you healthy and happy. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to have a life given this chance of being alive and living it to the max. Figuring out what you love to do makes you smile, gives you adrenaline, that fuzzy feeling in your guts, and doing it all the time. Maybe you haven't, I don't know if you've noticed, but that's what I try to do, obviously, right? And I've been fortunate, I do it quite often. But at the same time, I've got fight in me. I lost a lot in life from not being able to fight back. A lot. I lost a lot from not fighting back when I should have. But not now. Now I know I have learned the importance of fight. And I'm all about fighting. I am all about fighting. But how do you fight a fight amongst a bunch of people that want to buy toilet paper when Armageddon's coming? Right? How do you form an army with the people that have been so torn apart and so shredded of their natural ability to take care of themselves and kick ass? It's been stripped from them on average. So many of them. It's very frustrating to watch. But anyway, I guess I'm starting to ramble now, aren't I? Anyways, that's what I'm doing. The writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. If there's a good guy army that wants to rise up and correct all this shit and make life a frickin' awesome time, frickin' find me and sign me up. I'm willing to go the distance. I'm all in. And if that's not going to happen, well, I also have to look at other options, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. There you go. While I continue to do this, nothing's going to stop me from doing this. This is one thing that I can do as one person. I can do this. I can rally as many people as I can by sharing absolute truth, no matter how crazy it may sound, here. And I will continue to do that no matter what until I can't breathe anymore. Now, there you go. Something I needed to say. Said it. I'm going to go in, see how my patient is doing, and try to complete my frickin' book. Holy cow, that is so hard. Now I see why people just disappear. I worked till 2 o'clock in the morning on my book last night. I think 1 o'clock in the morning the night before. All day long in the hospital yesterday. And then to think that I've got 2 more books that I said that I will get done after this one. Oh my God. I'll get it done. Now, what else? I have to get in contact with people. I've absolutely thrown my phone away for a couple weeks now. I don't care. It is what it is. I just get absolutely frickin' overwhelmed sometimes. The amount of people that try to get a hold of me at the same time. The amount of people that just tug on me at the same time. The amount of people that get angry at me all the time because I can't get a hold, whatever. And I'll get overwhelmed sometimes. And I just want to throw my phone away and run. Go out in the bushes and go out in the forest. So, but I'm starting to get a little bit caught up and get back to a little bit more of a sane state of mind. And I can start to reach out and get a hold of people. And get back on track with what I want to do here with numerous people who need to be heard. And I'm going to speak with them here. I wanted to do that all last week. Didn't even get the emails done. Anyway, there you go, you guys. Do what you love to do. Make sure you do today or tomorrow or tonight or tomorrow morning, if you can, do what you love to do. Even if it's for 20 minutes, I don't give a shit. You have to do it. You have to feed that. You cannot lose that. Don't lose it. All right? If you have something that you absolutely love to do that makes your frickin' soul tickled, you have to continue to do that at all costs, no matter what, even if it's for 10 minutes. You have to keep that pilot light burning. Don't lose that. That's very, very important. All right? As a note on closing, take your shoes and socks off, go out and stand on that mud puddle or snow or the dirt, whatever you got, and go ground yourself out. Do that too. That's important. I could rattle off a whole bunch of things I know that are important to do, but those are two easy ones I can pass along. But the number one that I know is true is to make sure that you do what you love to do. Don't lose that. All right? You lose that, you've lost. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm babbling. At least. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to share more voices. Hopefully tonight, I can finally contact the people who I promised to contact earlier, get them on here speaking their truth with me, and keep this frickin' ball of truth rolling. And in the meantime, if anybody is a member of the Good Guy Army, and you want somebody next to you, get a hold of me. Later. Oh, I got one. Yes. Yes. Woo-hoo. There we go. Sweet. All right. Yeah. Oh, he got off. Every time I gotta start that camera underneath my foot. Damn. Hey.